Hi, my name is Trish, and I'm sitting in a beautiful garden. You can probably hear the birds. And I'm going to read this story. It's a story about a cat in a garden at night. Let's see what's inside those covers.
"Time for a shower and bed, Ben," called his mum. Tigger, Ben's big white cat, opened one eye sleepily as he lay warm and comfortable in front of the roaring fire. He yawned lazily and stretched his paws as far as he could reach. "Time to do the rounds," he thought. "Ben's off to bed, and that means it's the hour for me to check everything is fine outside." Slowly he rolled onto his paws and sat up. With a last lick of his fur to straighten himself up, he walked towards the sliding door. "Brr!" he called to Ben. "Brr! Brr!" Tigger had taught Ben just a little bit of cat language, so Ben knew Tigger was asking to be let outside. "Coming," Ben answered as he went towards the door and then unlatched the catch. "Have a nice night. See you in the morning." Tigger wagged his tail high in the air in thanks and paused on the step outside as he heard the door slide closed behind him and the curtain being drawn across. It was a cool night with gentle rain falling, and Tigger was pleased to have thick fur to keep him warm. He quickly padded over to the trellis fence, which was connected to the house. One jump, two jumps, and Tigger was on the roof. Settling down on his haunches with his tail tucked neatly beside him, Tigger quietly sat to watch. As his big green eyes got used to the dark, below him he could see the whole garden, all shiny and crisp in the shadowy night. Thought Tigger, all is well here. That mouse by the compost bin could be a tasty evening supper. Can I be bothered? He asked himself. No, I don't need it. Those cat biscuits have really filled me up. Looks like it's going to be a quiet night. A hedgehog who lived under the hydrangea bushes had just woken up from its short winter hibernation, and it was starving. Tigger could hear it snuffle, snuffle, snuffle as it poked its nose under the old silver beet leaves, looking for snails and slugs. Every few seconds Tigger heard a crunch as the hedgehog found another juicy snail to eat. Hedgehogs, he mused, no fun at all. As soon as you want to play with them, they roll into a ball and their spikes go up your nose. I don't know what Ben sees in them myself. He always makes such a fuss if they walk across the lawn during the day. But I guess as long as he keeps feeding me, it doesn't matter too much. As Tigger turned to look up at the trees, he could see, reflected in the light from Ben's window, a moorpork. It lived in the big totara tree next door and was just waking up, feeling a little hungry. Idly, Tigger wondered if the mouse was going to be owl dinner before it became cat dinner. But something was wrong. The moorpork seemed to be agitated. Its big owl eyes stared intently into the deep shadows of the bushes below. Instantly alert, Tigger sat up and pricked up his ears to listen. Nothing, just the sound of the gentle rain and the rustling of the night insects. All the creatures of the garden sensed something was about to happen. The mouse paused above the carrot top it had pulled out of the scraps in the upturned compost bin. The moorpork flew down to a lower branch as it let out a gentle moorpork, moorpork, moorpork call. The hedgehog moved quickly back into its nest under the hydrangea, and the huge purring moth fluttered softly past to land on the tree trunk nearby. Time to move, Tigger thought, and keep patrolling. He left his watching post on the roof above Ben's window and quietly walked along the ridges of the roof to its edge. From here he knew he would get a better view of the fence line and the bushes. I still can't see what's going on, he thought, and he glanced back at the moorpork. It was still, stone still, with only the big unblinking eyes portraying its presence. As softly as he could, Tigger jumped down from the roof edge and landed with a dull thump on the wood pile below. Instantly Tigger froze, his fur sticking up on end all down his back. He had seen the intruder. It was a large possum, almost as big as himself, feeding on the tips of the climbing rose vines that grew along the fence line. Its pink nose continually sniffed the air as it fed on the new young shoots clenched between its front claws. The possum too stopped its feasting and listened. It let out a in warning, but even with its excellent night sight, it failed to spot Tigger in the shadows. A flash of lightning lit up the garden, and Tigger suddenly saw the damage the possum had already done. Lettuces were half eaten, the strawberries had bites out of them, and the second compost bin had been tipped out all over the lawn. This must stop, Tigger growled, and it must stop now before the entire garden is destroyed. Thank goodness he hasn't got into my catnip yet. Keeping to the shadows, Tigger eased himself down onto his haunches and began to creep stealthily, closer and closer. He then paused, stock still as a statue, and waited for the best moment to pounce. His fur was raised, his ears were rigid, and the only movement was a nervous twitch on the end of his tail. Suddenly, the night air resounded to the ear-splitting screech of a large male cat in full war cry. A wild ball of white and grey fur flashed onto the possum, and the whole neighbourhood was woken to the screams of cat and possum locked in combat. The lights went on in the nearby houses and in Ben's house as well. Ben's mum was outside calling, "Tigger, Tigger, is that you?" But Tigger wasn't able to hear, as by now the fight was continuing where the possum had fled, first down the driveway and then several houses away. "Tigger, Tigger," Ben's mum called again. "It's cold." Ben's dad softly called from under the warm bedclothes. "Shut the door and don't worry. Tigger's a big cat. He'll be okay." Just as quickly as the noises had started, the fight was over, and slowly the lights in the houses were put out once more, and the neighbourhood returned to sleep. The mouse went back to his compost feast. The moorpork flew off to find his evening meal. He rather fancied a bit of tender skink for a change and knew just the spot to find one. The hedgehog stuck his snout out of his nest and, finding all was calm, returned to the escartoire of snails he had found under the silver beet. At Ben's house, Ben heard the familiar thump thump as Tigger came in through the open window of the upstairs bathroom. Sleepily, Ben snuggled back into his pillow as he knew his cat was safely back inside after checking all was as it should be outside in the night. Tigger crept downstairs to the now dying fire and surveyed his wounds. He had a bloody ear, a bit of fur and skin missing from the middle of his forehead, and some more blood above his eye. He thought, not too much damage, not too sore. I'll just have a wash and settle back down here in the warm. Mind you, I'll leave just a little bit of blood here and there. Ben will feel sorry for me in the morning, and that way I'll get heaps of love and attention. I'm feeling quite good, actually, he thought. I've saved the lemons on the lemon tree, the rest of the roses and the carrots, so that means Ben's mum will think I'm wonderful too, and that's worth heaps of prime cat food for simply ages. Life's good, he purred. If only humans knew how safe the world is, thanks to us cats and our night patrols. Have you ever been in a garden at night? It's amazing what happens there, whether you're in summer, winter, any of the seasons. So this activity is to, with an older person, sit somewhere outside close to your front door and just sit there for a little while, wrap up warm if it's winter, and see what you can see when everything is quiet and everybody's inside. You might find people going past who work at night. You're going to have to ask the adult who's with you what they do. You might see creatures. If there's a light on, you might see moths. How many different things you can see that are around at night just before you go to bed. Have you ever seen a rose? Some people think the rose is the loveliest flower of them all, and they will be in a garden in summer. But if you don't live near a garden, you might find a rose in a flower shop or a florist's shop, because florists' shops love having roses for very special occasions. When you find your rose, see if it has a smell. Some of them will, some of them won't. And if they have got a smell, you'll know that for many roses they are used for making perfume. Roses are also very special on Valentine's Day, which is the 14th of February, when people give a rose to a person they love. And there's also lots and lots of poems about roses. See how many different things you can find that are all about roses. Did you know there are a lot of creatures that love to eat things that are in a garden? The clue to finding where these creatures have been is to look at a plant in a garden and see if the leaves have been eaten, because then you'll know some creature has been chomping away on that leaf. We've thought about possums loving lemons and all sorts of fruit, but I wonder what creatures in your part of the world love to eat things in your gardens. They might even be birds. See what you can find out. Does a cat live near you? You might own a cat, or perhaps the cat owns you. Have you ever seen a cat? A lot of people around the world like to have cats in their houses because they like them to purr on their laps at night. A lot of people prefer having a dog. So, do you think you could find a cat or a dog? Don't go up to it. Don't touch it. Just sit quietly and watch it, because then you'll see the dog or the cat doing amazing things. Their faces have expressions on them, just like humans. You'll see if the cat or the dog is shy or interested in something, or needs to have a good old scratch. It's really, really interesting watching a cat or a dog when they don't know you're there. You might find out all sorts of things you didn't know about them. If you found something interesting, you might like to write your own story about the cat or the dog. You might like to say it as a recording, or you might like to write it down, or you might like an adult to write it down for you. Now that would be cool, wouldn't it? When I was reading Night Patrol to you, you wouldn't have seen that I have added extra words that I didn't read out. These are wonderful describing words. On the first page, the describing word about Tigger the cat is cosy and cuddly and contented. That might be how you feel just as you wake up in the morning after a really good sleep. Another three words that I've put on the illustrations on the second page are windy, wintry, and waiting, as Tigger was waiting for the sliding door to open and go out into the garden. Now, every page of this book has got these wonderful words. When Tigger is up on the roof at night, he is watchful, wary, and waiting. Have you noticed that the three words always start with the same sound? The mouse is squeaky and squitchy and scrunchy. Aren't they wonderful words to say? So have a look back through the book and see if you can find more of these words, because they're on every page and they are so lovely to hear. You might be able to make up your own to go with the story that you wrote in the last activity. Have fun. Now here's a problem for you to solve. In order for gardeners to protect their fruit trees, they'll often put nets over them, so creatures like possums or birds can't get into the fruit. In fact, that's what we do here in our garden. That's how we protect the fruit, the figs, the plums, the apples from the birds. How would you do it? Can you think of a different way that you can protect a tree from a creature that wants to eat it? Can you think of something other than a net? You might want to draw a picture of a contraption that you have made that would be a wonderful thing to do to protect trees in somebody's garden or plants. I wonder what you can come up to. There's no answers to this one. You're just going to have to think about it and use your imagination. So there's the question. What would you use to protect a garden from the creatures that want to eat it before you want to eat it?
By hitting the subscribe button, you will get notification of our books that I'll be reading to you for free. Plus, the bonus is, of course, that there will be at least a week's activities for you to enjoy afterwards. Remember, you can buy all these books at mikelegbooks.com. Please share this link, spread the word to your friends, subscribe, and just have fun with all these amazing stories. Thank you.